welcome back to On the Wreckord, Inklings' monthly TV show reporting on what's new and important in our community. At least whatever we could capture on the record. I'm Ella Shee, joined by Zach Brody.
We start the day by taking time to look at our past. Every January 16th, we remember Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his incredible contributions to society. Today, Ms. Shager joins us to share a few words and talk about how the Black, African American, and Latino Studies course remembered and honored Dr. King.
The African American, Black, Latino, and Puerto Rican Studies class opens eyes on how to honor MLK Day, Black History Month, and diverse cultures overall.
We sat with Kathy Shager to discuss these ideas and the creation of the class.
The course was essentially created because students of color in this state decided that they weren't okay with the way things were going. They talked a lot on negative experiences of being Black and brown folks and being taught problematic texts. They specifically were talking about having to read Heart of Darkness, which is it's a text that's always kind of been part of curricula, but it's also like pretty problematic. And obviously once our nation started having more of like a racial reckoning after George Floyd, people had gotten a lot better about recognizing that, but this course actually was in the works before that. Basically, they wanted to know more about their own histories, and that they never really got to see much of through a standard K-12 curriculum. When I first started teaching, I taught the way that I'd been taught, which was in that tokenistic way, and I'm trying to interrupt that idea. It coincided nicely that the murals that they made for their Resistors and Rebels project that we just did, yes, which is like it's basically the 1800s, like 1821 to the Civil War. They made these incredible posters and it coincided with Dr. King's birthday. So we decided to put it up on the wall so that anybody walking by would see it during January and February. So I feel like we need a balance. I feel like it's totally fine to recognize it, but imagine how powerful it would be if people had a better understanding. All history should be taught K through 12 from the beginning and throughout the year.
Thank you for that, and to everyone in the Staples community for your work to remember Dr. King and his message. Moving on, Staples has recently seen a major change in the bathrooms.
That's right, Ella. All the paper towel dispensers have disappeared, leaving only air dryers to dry your hands.
Inklings' own Phoebe Miller decided to solve the mystery of the missing paper towels.
Hi everyone, this is Phoebe Miller, back with another episode of Phoebe Investigates. And this time we're investigating what happened to all the paper towels in the bathrooms. Let's go. Exhibit A. Where the paper towel dispenser once was, there's no longer anything. This is preposterous.
It's quite annoying having wet hands all over the place.
Do you like to use the hand dryers?
No.
And why is that?
They're too loud.
I think hand dryers are unsanitary. I saw this TikTok where this man put a petri dish under a hand dryer. Lots of germs and bacteria and sicknesses came inside of it.
They randomly go off. They go off at random times. Why?
Like many, I've become so desperate to find paper towel that I become excited when I find it on the floor. But then I realize it's just shreds of toilet paper littering the floor of the school.
I have no words.
And so I wondered to myself, did teachers get to keep their towels? So I decided to talk to a resident towel user for his opinion.
And so are you saying that there are paper towels in the staff bathrooms?
Yes. We'll have to go. Well, some bathrooms do have the air dryer. And some do have the paper towels. I don't know why, but I do prefer paper towels. I think they work quicker. I don't know if that sounds absolutely crazy. I'd say the bathrooms I go to, that's never an issue.
Okay, thank you.
That helps.
Next, I talked to an expert.
Yes, the paper towels are out of the bathrooms. They're actually never in until we had the first COVID wave. So sometimes paper towels end up in the toilet. We've heard of the number of plumbing issues that we've had in the last 2 years. It had to be due to the paper towels in the toilet.
Overall, my vote is to restore peace to the schools by allowing students the same benefits as teachers and not having to subject themselves to the hand dryers.
They can even cause injuries.
Now, back by popular demand, we turn to Staples' World Language Department for another Humans of Staples feature.
In this month's feature, we spoke to Mr. Fry. Let's take a look.
So you teach Mandarin classes here. What's your favorite Mandarin class?
Well, I've always had trouble certainly with saying favorite students, favorite anything. What I will say is this, is that I've been teaching Chinese 2 honors for about 17 or 18 years. And I'd say it's one of my favorite classes to teach because I have motivated students who have just arrived from the middle school. And I've had all these years to sort of perfect that class, of course.
You're a Mandarin teacher here at Staples. Have you been to China?
I have been to China.
What was it like in China?
China, it depended on when you went. My first trip was probably in 1991. My last trip was 2019, right before COVID. So I would say I have seen remarkable changes in that time period.
And you mentioned that you were learning Arabic. How many languages do you know?
Arabic is my 6th language that I'm learning. I started with English, of course, because I was born here, but I then learned French, and then Russian, then Spanish, then Chinese, and now Arabic.
It's amazing. You ran out of many, many talents.
Thank you, Ben.
So when did you start teaching here at Staples?
I first started in 1996. This is my 27th year teaching.
And what brought you to Staples?
You know, I grew up in Southport, and I went to Roger Level High School. I used to come pick my students up here at Staples when I was working at the Stop and Shop. So I was always aware of Staples and its reputation. I was always impressed by it, and so when I decided to go into education, I got to say I was thrilled. Felt like I ended up with my dream job.
That's amazing. Glad to hear that. All right, well, I think that's all the questions we have for now, so thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Next up, we take a closer look at one of the newest and more unique clubs Staples has to offer, Wreckers with Wrenches.
Inklings highlighted this club in our December issue, but got so much good footage we just had to follow up with a feature on the show too. This club focuses on the automotive industry, fixing up and restoring all types of cars. It's one of many ways to get involved with the Staples community. Let's watch.
Hello everyone, this is Wreckers of Wrenches, and today we'll be doing an oil change on the 1995 Jeep Wrangler Y-Chain. As the cycles of the engine go from hot and cold, oil starts to break down or oxidize. Over time, it will turn black. Also, other contaminants such as dirt, grime, and so maybe metal materials from the engine. Very micron level. You can always see them with a microscope, really.
There's a plug in the back under the car, an oil plug. When you unscrew that, it all comes out the bottom, and then you put a new filter on, which keeps the oil clean as it runs, and then you put new oil in.
Now that we've drained completely, next up is replace the drain bolt gasket, or washer, crush washer to be more precise. Sometimes you can reuse the old ones, but as me, I'm a stickler and I don't want to have issues, I tend to throw it out and put a new one on, as so. The next step is to remove the filter, as we can see. So normally you can also use a wrench to do this, but I prefer to do it by hand. And there we go. Removed oil filter.
Now, a trick with this new filter, before you put it on, is you want to rub some oil around this rubber gasket here. We do that because as this is attached to the engine, right there where the oil filter goes, where the old one was, this rubber gets hot, and as rubber gets hot, it starts to melt, which means it starts to stick to the engine. And the issue with that is it's going to be really hard to take off the next time you want to do it. And there we go. That's how you replace your oil filter. Alright, now that we've removed all the previous oil and installed the new filter, we will be pouring in our new oil. For this engine, it will be 6 quarts, so it's going to be 1.5 of these containers. Mac here, he has a funnel to help us out so we don't spill oil everywhere.
Now that we've finished the oil change, everything has been put back. Now all there's left to do is clean up. But with that said, thank you so much for being here with us with our first oil change of Wreckers of Wrenches. I hope to see you soon. Have a good day.
If you want to get involved with Wreckers with Wrenches, the club meets Fridays after school in the Tech Ed room.
Well, that is going to do it for us today and the first episode of 2023. On behalf of myself, Zach, and everyone at Inklings, we'd like to thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back in February.
Until then, we wish everyone a good start to the second semester. Go Wreckers!